Hello there, I'm Nathalia Melo, your unfiltered fit BFF, mom of two turned CEO of a fitness empire. Someone who understands the struggles of trying to stay fit, sane, and sexy, all while juggling work, life, and motherhood. And this is the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. Follow along wherever you're listening and join me weekly as I help busy working moms just like you simplify their fitness journey so they can lose weight, regain their confidence, and feel sexy AF. It's time to stop living in the what ifs and hiding from the cameras. It's time to regain control over your body, feel sexy naked, and wear a bikini confidently. People already see you as a super confident woman, but it's time for you to feel the same way too. Let's go. Hello there, fam. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. I'm Nathalia Melo, your host, and I'm here today with an incredible guest who is also going to be a speaker at my event happening in Dallas in September 28th and 29th. Her name is Julee Gracey. She is a executive coach, certified business and confidence coach, helping women with mindset, business, and life strategies. And she's been doing that for over 10 years. She also is one of the coaches for Grant Cardone, working with a lot of women on that as well. So I'm very excited for her to bring her experience as a mother, as a wife, as a coach, as a business owner, and, how she's being able to juggle all of it because her husband also travels a lot for work. So she has had to implement systems and strategies in her life to make sure that she is doing so in a effective manner where she doesn't fall to the wayside. Is that a good summary, Julie?
I mean, beautiful. I'll take that every day. Thank you for that amazing intro. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
No, I love it. And just so you guys know, this is like take two. A few months back, we recorded a whole podcast and we were so excited. And then something happened and it didn't record. And we're like, all right, I guess we're doing it again then. And she's been gracious enough to give her time to do it again.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I'm always happy to be here. It's always great to speak with like-minded women. And you and I have the same goal of truly helping women and making an impact in their lives with what we've not only been through, but what we teach and what we coach to others. Mm-hmm. And the more that we do things like this and take this message out to women, the deeper the impact we can have, because we know that impact we have on them affects not only just that one person, but their families, their children, and the world around them.
Yes. And you know what? I was thinking, I don't even have this on my notes, but I was going to tell the listeners on how we met. Because just a quick story. So I attended a women's event and I knew nobody. I was supposed to go with a friend. And then literally on the way there, she's like, I'm going to be able to stay 10 minutes. And by the time I got there, she had left. And Julie raises her hand to ask something to the people on the stage. And I'm like, oh, she's my people there. She's wearing like this bright green blazer. And I'm like, that's my people. And we just start chatting. And it was like, the confidence that he attracts people in these kind of events. Like that's where you build relationships with like-minded people, which talking about the Powerhouse Summit, it is going to be the same thing, but more on the fitness side of things. How was your perception on how we met, Julie?
Yeah. And I love that because it's so interesting how stories start.
Yeah.
And how those stories start is the willingness, the courage to put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. So I can say this. I had just moved to the Dallas area, and that women's business event was the first event I had attended in my new city. Mm-hmm. It was my first, okay, I live here now. I want to go out and I want to connect with more like-minded women. Mm-hmm. And I know from going into enough events, I knew no one there. I just walked in with, my very glowing lime green jacket. It's my favorite because that's my personality. And I know that anybody that appreciates that is going to come and attract me. And that is when, yes, you came over and said hello to me. And immediately I was like, this is my girl. And we ended up staying and talking. Everyone was leaving. I think they were cleaning around us. And they were trying to sweep us down the stairs. We're like, we're going to be a couple more minutes. And we just had this connection. But that's the power of going to these events. You're going to find your people there. Yeah. And out of the 600 women, if I just made connections to one, to you, absolutely worth it. Because guess what? We've had so many opportunities now. We're working together. Mm-hmm. And that's because we both had the courage and took the action to put ourselves out there. And so, yes, Powerhouse Summit, I am so excited about this. I have such a huge passion for not only just I coach women in business, But you can't just focus on business and not focus on your health because the two are intertwined.
Yeah.
One affects the other. You want to get better in business? Start taking care of yourself, because as you start taking better care of yourself, the more money you're going to make. And I've coached women across the globe, from France to Canada to Australia to all across the US. The two are connected.
Yeah.
So you want better relationships? Start with your health. You want to make more money? Start with your health. You want just more joy and happiness in your life? Start with your health.
100% agree. And I think that there is also the layer of confidence. I call it the bad bitch vibe. You had the bad bitch vibe. You know, when somebody walks into a room and you're like, ooh, I don't know what that person has to say, but I'm listening. Because you are confident on what you bring to the table. And what I see with my side of working with women on the health and fitness side, I speak with so many women that are so incredibly competent and smart and overqualified to the jobs that they have, but they don't have the confidence to showcase and put themselves out there to highlight how amazing and incredible they are, because they don't even want people looking at them and things like that. And I think it's a shame.
It is. And this is the mission of what I do. Like, this is my work to help show women. And I literally say these words to my clients. You don't need to be anything else than exactly who you are right now. You don't need to know anything else. You don't need to pretend to be anyone else. If you will show up as just you, we are all a work in progress.
Facts.
Right? None of us are perfect. And so it is. And I teach women that have, PhDs. They blow me out of the water, but they are so focused on what they don't have.
Yep.
And what they're not. And they're trying to show up as what they think they should be, not who they are. And that's where that lack of confidence, because you're trying to step into a place, trying to pretend to be something else. So it's really that courage. I step into a room like we met at that event. This is who I am. This is what I know I can teach.
Take it or leave it.
Right. And I'm confident in this is who I am. I'm not trying to show up as anyone else. And so, especially in events, there are going to be people that do not like me, that I am not connected with, that just are going to say, you're not my person. And if you can be okay with that, gosh, I don't want to be for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not for everyone.
Same.
Because how boring would that be? I am uniquely me, all the good things, the bad things, the weird, the quirky. I show up as just me. And that's how I can show up into a room with confidence, because I'm just me. Take it or leave it. And I'm telling you, if you show up like that, you're going to find your people, just like you and I found each other.
Yeah.
Because I know you came and I could tell this girl is just showing up exactly who she is, saying what she wants to say. And I appreciate that.
And it takes some time for you to kind of like find who you are. But once you do, it gives you so much comfort being like, I don't know, man, not everybody's cup of tea. And I'm perfectly okay with that. But whenever I am somebody's cup of tea, then that person is really going to be truly my person. So Julee, now tell me a little bit, like, let's take a few steps back and tell me a little bit who Julee is. Like, where does Julee come from? What has she done throughout her life that brought her here now? So share a little bit from your farm days to LA days and everything in between.
Yeah, I always say I'm definitely a girl that was fresh off the farm. Grew up on 100 acres in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest. Very simple life. 2 parents that never even graduated from high school. And it was taught to work really hard and have integrity. And the lessons I learned there have helped me just hit so many goals and do so many things in life, because I was taught to make decisions without fear. There was no time to have fear. And as my mother immigrated from Canada, it was that immigrant mentality of there is no one coming to save you. So you better figure it out. And so fear was a luxury. We didn't have time to be scared. We only had time to take action. And we were forced to look at situations logically and take action. And this helped me learn to fail fast, right? Failure wasn't looked at as a bad thing. We're going to fail quickly, because the quicker we fail, the quicker we can figure this out. And so this is what I was telling people. You need to volunteer to fail. Okay, we're going to be scared. Well, what if we volunteer? Like, you willingly say, I'm going to fail, then takes a little bit of that pressure off. And so that's how I was raised. And from there, boy, I went to Los Angeles. I wanted to model. I worked in TV. I sold everything I owned, booked a one-way ticket, and went overseas and modeled and walked runways in Milan. Came back, worked in TV some more. Then I started my own real estate business, became number one of the company, sold millions of dollars in real estate. Then I decided, okay, it's time to be a mom. And, I tackled that. And that was more challenging than anything that I've ever done.
Facts. Facts.
You know, everyone's like, wow, you've done all of these things. You've traveled and modeled. I'm like, that was a cakewalk compared to not only being a mother, but then going back to work and saying, okay, I want to be a mother and work. And wow, do you really figure out where your weaknesses are when that process happens? And so I figured a lot of that out, and I coach women on this every day. And so this is my passion, is to help women not go through a lot of the struggles that I went through, but also showing them that there is a different way to do it than what we've been typically taught as women.
Yeah. One thing that I see is that as women, sometimes there is no winning, because if you stay home, it's like, oh my God, you stay home, you don't do anything. I don't know if that would be the right description. And then if you go back to work, it's like, oh my God, you don't care about your kids. And then you need to keep on doing everything that you do at home. And then you also need to work. And it's kind of like you're burning the candles on both ends. So what was your biggest challenge, Julie? As you know, obviously your kids are a little bit older now. What was your biggest challenge getting back into the workforce after having kids?
You touched on it. It's that I was raised like to be very independent when we do everything ourselves, and you take pride in that. And so I did. And here's the thing. I did everything. I cooked, I cleaned, like I did all the things. And here's the downside. It worked until it didn't. Because I was proving to myself, like, look, I'm doing everything. And then you start to see signs of burnout. Relationship suffers. Your husband, you don't have time for him because you're exhausted. And then whenever you do try to get support, hire a housekeeper. I had a live-in nanny because I was trying to hire babysitters and they just wouldn't show up. And then what do you get? Well, I would never want someone else to raise my children. Like, no one's raising my children. I would like to take a nap and not be grouchy mom at the end of the day and make sure someone shows up that's consistent in my children's life. But you're right, Nathalia. You're going to have everyone, even the people that care about you, those comments are very challenging. And so, yes, it was both sides. You speak with women that are working. Oh, well, you're just a mom at home. And then you speak to the working women of like, I could never leave my children. And it can be so confusing, and the judgment. And so trying to go back to work and still trying to do all of the things, because so much of your identity is wrapped up in these things that you've been doing. And when you can learn to let go and say, that's not my role, and be okay with that, it's a bit of a mind shift. You know this probably. Once you actually start down that path, then you're like, I want to fire myself from as many jobs as possible.
Yeah.
And you know, Nathalia, I can tell you this. When I lived in Miami, I have to say this here. It was actually a woman, a friend of mine from Brazil, who we had taken our kids to the same elementary school. We lived in the same condo building. And she said, let's go down to the spa in our building and just sit and relax. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds like a great idea. And we did. And I told her, this is so nice. Like, I never took time out to just care for myself. And she was the one that says, Julie, it's my responsibility to care for myself. If I love my children and I love my husband, they don't want me stressed out. My husband wants me to show up rested and present and loving the woman he married, not stressed out and tired. And my children, they want happy mom. If I'm showing up to them stressed and no energy and not being able to go for a walk with them because I just am tired, that's not what they want. And it was so enlightening to me. And again, this amazing woman from Brazil is like, we don't do that in our country. That's an American thing. And I was like, what? And so it just really started from there. And then I started hiring help. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm not exhausted all the time. And I could start showing up the way that I want to for my family and for my husband.
What was the turning point for you? Obviously, there was this enlightening moment with your friend from Brazil. But when did you realize that you were, I say, a bitch slap away from a burnout when trying to do all the things? And, you know, the thing is that when you're trying to do all the things and being everything for everyone, the only person that you can control is you, in the sense of if something needs to give, it's going to be whatever it is that you're doing for yourself. So what was the moment that you realized that, okay, so something is happening here?
Yeah, well, you just start realizing, like, slowly, for me, it wasn't one thing. It was that I wasn't showing up for myself the way I wanted to. And it's like everything was check the box. amazing husband, beautiful children, beautiful home, financially secure, no health issues, and I wasn't happy. Then came the guilt of why couldn't I just be happy? What was happening? Right? Then it's on me like, wow, I must be ungrateful. And just realizing that I was pulling myself in way too many directions. And again, it was working on the outside without realizing what it was doing on the inside. And I just started to feel sad and unhappy and restless because I wasn't giving myself any time for me. And it's a shift that I see a lot of women hesitant to make. And they make excuses. Oh, well, I can't afford to do this, or I've always done it this way. And they like control. They don't want to let go of some areas of their lives because it's tied into their identity of who they are. And in order to become the next version of who you want to be, you have to let go of the version that you were.
I 100% agree. And it's funny because whenever we moved here from Ireland, we didn't have a lot. Like the move, I don't know if you've ever done a full transatlantic move with two small kids, having no credit. Like it's expensive. So it's not that we were like, woo, but even doing the math, I start to realize, okay, so I'm spending X amount of hours cleaning my house every single week. How much is my time worth if I take this time and focus on doing what I'm good at, which is not taking care of the house? So, I cannot outsource being a mother per se. Like there are tasks that I do want to be present for my kids, but it doesn't make me a better or worse mom to make sure that I'm cleaning the toilets. And there are people that love cleaning showers, and that is like what brings them up most joy, like because they are like clean freaks like that. And I love that. And I'm sure there are people that couldn't think of anything worse than to coach people in the fitness stuff. And I love that. So finding the people. And then whenever I did the math, I'm like, there is absolutely no reason for me to not outsource this area, because even financially speaking, if somebody's charging, I don't know, like $20 an hour, and my hour is worth, even if it's just like 35, spending that amount of time on what I do best, it's still going to give me a net profit of $15 an hour.
Right. And that's just financial, Nathalia. You're talking about just the financial numbers, but there's something else there. One, it's the space in your brain that you don't have to worry about doing anymore. There's other residual effects and things like that you don't want to do. And for myself, I don't want to clean the house. I am super particular. I like things to be super clean. My favorite color is white. I would have white floors, white sofas, white walls. I like it fresh and crisp and clean.
And just full disclosure, I've been to her house, and that is 100% accurate.
Except for our dogs, right?
No. Oh, no, but hold on. But wait, but then there is a blanket to put over the couch for the dogs to lay on that it gets washed daily. Whenever she says that, I'm like, I beg your finest pardon. What? Whenever your husband said, oh yeah, we wash this every night. And I'm like,
yeah, we do. The washer and dryer go 24 hours, just say, look at me. But that's how we roll. But my point being is I don't want to do it. I like it clean. But just like you said, when I have a housekeeper that comes, a couple of things there. One, it's no longer in my brain. I don't have to go do a task that, one, is not worth my time financially, but I don't want to do it. I don't get joy. And as much as I can put on the music and get myself a snack and go at it, I can get myself there. But again, is it my best use of my time? And as mothers, especially, we have less time than everyone else.
True.
I stand behind that. So we have to be very smart of how we spend our time. And so I would rather get more work done, whatever it is I need to get done in that time, and then be able to use that time to be with my family. I don't care if it's just doing a puzzle with my kid. It's absolutely, I will sit in my house and just be playing with them while the housekeepers are in the house cleaning. Because which one do I want? Which one is going to be remembered by my family? So you made a good point too, Nathalia. I have clients that I work with them on doing the financial numbers of their time. And I have a client who had started a business. She was full-time job, but then starting this business at night. But when we went through her actual numbers of her time, she was leaving her family at night from like 6 to 8 at night. They were in the other room. She was in her office at home working. And the product she was selling, we turned out she was only making $2 an hour. And so I asked her, I said, is it worth your time? Is your family's time right now worth $2 an hour? And she was like, absolutely not. And I see this over and over. They don't actually do the numbers to understand what they're trading, right? So long story short, we went in, got a new product to where she was charging $300 an hour for her time. And then it made it a little bit more valuable for her to step away from her family because she's able to invest in a housekeeper and things like this that she no longer had to do. But going back to delegating the things that are not important. And when I hear women say that I don't have the money, there's always money. We find it every time because guess what? Do you have a cell phone? Do you get Starbucks? The money's always there. You just don't actually want it. And I always ask my clients, do you actually want this? Do you actually want it? Because if you truly want it, nothing's going to stop you. But if you are thinking about it, maybe you want to try it, any little thing is going to stop you from getting there.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's funny because a few weeks ago, I spoke with someone and, I have a vacation to Vegas. And then, we have this and we have that and we have like second home. And it was all those things. But I don't know if I can invest in my fitness. And I think that is much more powerful when you say you call it a spade. And I am not saying, that there aren't real reasons to not invest, but people will always find money to enroll their kids in a cheer program that is expensive as hell, or hockey, or, soccer, or all these kind of activities. And whenever it is something for themselves, they immediately devalue. So I think it is so powerful whenever you change the language and you're like, this is not a priority for me right now. Because then you take ownership.
Yeah.
It is not a priority for me to invest in my health and my body. I can respect that so much more. But I don't have no money. No, you have, because if you have just gone on 3 vacations to Asia, I travel, that ain't cheap. So even whenever I say something, I don't have the money for this, I'm like, I reframe it for myself. I'm like, no, this right here is not a priority at this time. It puts me on the driver's seat. Like, that's my thought process.
Absolutely. And I love this. This is something that I teach, and it's actually a chapter in the book that's coming out next month. It's called Volunteer to Fail. And one of the chapters is can't is a curse word. Can't is the most limiting word in the English language. And just like you said, Nathalia, it's just this. How are you going to reframe that? Because it's not a priority right now. I'm not willing to put in the work for this now. It's being honest with yourself, or I don't have the capacity to take that on right now. I have other priorities that will take precedence over this, or not that I can't, or I'm unsure if this is going to be the right choice for me. But this word can't, I have clients that they're not allowed actually to say it on a coaching call. If they do, we stop immediately and we deal with it.
And rephrase it.
Yeah. And so an exercise, I would say one of the most powerful things you can do is practice taking the word can't out of your language for the next 30 days. And if you do say it, write it down and notice all the areas that you say you can't. I was just sitting in this hair salon the other day and there was a lady next to me. It takes me a few hours to get my hair done. I'm telling you, and I counted the time she said can't in the conversation. 40 times she said how she can't do this and she can't do that over and over. And this woman is just vomiting this negativity over everyone around her. And it's the saddest thing. So if it's, I can't take is it, or that you just don't want to? You're not going to make it a priority. You're going to make your priority that I need to go buy designer shoes, but I'm not going to make myself a priority. And this is Nathalia. I know you see this. Women, we do not make ourselves the priority.
One thing that I want to make it very clear, if it is not your priority, that is perfectly okay.
Yes.
If you rather get X amount of money and, invest that money on your child, cheer that costs, I don't know, I think I read research the other day that is like $17,000 a year.
That's insane.
For a child to be in cheer or, soccer, hockey, whatever it is. And you are unhappy to take photos with your kids. But if taking care of yourself is not a priority, there is no judgment, but I do think that there needs to be a level of honesty.
Yeah, own it.
Yeah, owning it.
Own it. Just be like, oh, you didn't do that. You know what? I didn't make it a priority. I prioritize this over this. And when you start taking that responsibility, that's when you can change your life.
Agreed.
And we talk about wanting to be, I want to be a good mom. So I go spend $17,000 on this cheer program that they want. Okay. But what does that child really want? Do they want to be in a home with a mother who is unhappy, angry? They're watching you. I have 2 teenage daughters. I assure you, they're watching everything that I do, everything that I say. So if I truly want to be the mother that I want to be, who do I need to work on the most? Who do I need to take care of the most? Because I'm training them of what they need to prioritize, how they need to take care of themselves. And if I'm sitting around complaining, what am I going to teach them to do? In fact, can't is a curse word in my house. My kids know this. I'd rather them drop a well-timed F-bomb than
a well-timed. Oh, I'm done.
Well-timed. Like, I'll be like, you know what? You're not allowed to say that, but excellent use of the word. But can't. I'll be like, excuse me? And they say, I need help with that. I'm like, thank you. That to me is so important because we all have, Nathalia, you work with so many women. So do I. The potential.
Oh my God.
Of women. Like I get goosebumps when I talk about it. If we could just pull out even half of the potential of women in this world, we literally would make the world a better place. It would literally change society.
It's so true. Sometimes I look at the members in our community and I'm like, girl, they're like, oh, I'm just so lazy. And like, I'm like, you work 55 jobs. You have 25,000 kids. You do all the things. Lazy people don't go to med school and work like 5 12-hour shifts back to back. Like, you know what I'm saying? So much negative. Oh, I can't do this. You survived like Harvard and you're telling me that you can't wake up a bit earlier. You know what I'm saying? So it's wild. So one thing that I want to touch on, Julie, because I do know that this is something that we see eye to eye in working with women. I think because there is this messaging that is like women are always going to be the person that is the caretaker, which I'm all for. But a lot of times I think the message gets diluted and the women become extreme people pleaser and set no boundaries. And whenever they do decide to set boundaries, they get a lot of pushback because it's different. They are no longer the person that does everything for everyone at the drop of a hat. So how did you work with setting boundaries for yourself, you know, with, I don't know, maybe family members and their opinions about you getting help or about you getting back to work or not getting back to work, or like, how do you set boundaries? And what is the importance of boundaries? How important have boundaries been for you, for your success, you know, with your fitness, with your professional life, marriage, all that?
Yeah, boundaries are vital. Boundaries are the respect you show yourself. This isn't about other people. Boundaries are the respect that you give to yourself. When you start changing, so maybe you've been in this role, maybe you've been that at-home caretaker or whatever it may be. When you start to change and you're trying to hit new goals, here's the thing. You become a different person to the people around you. So it's not bad that you're changing. You're just becoming someone different to them because right now you fit into their world of what they need and how they see you. And now you're trying to change that. And if you've ever experienced this, which many of us has, they might get upset or wonder what you're doing or why are you doing this? Who you are to them becomes threatened. And that changes their world. And they may not like change. They might like you just as you are because it fits what they need from you. And so, yeah, it's something to navigate. And as far as like my husband, just communication, sitting down and saying, this is what I would like to do. You know, when it comes to, I'm going to go back to work, but going back to work and taking care of the kids and the house and all of these things, I need support. And here's what, and this is where I think that layer of communication stops because women will be like, this is too much for me. Again, I'm not an expert psychologist on men and women, but when you can be specific and when I go to my husband and say, babe, I'm going to be going back to work. I would like support, and this is the best way to support me. Being very clear, X, Y, Z. Does that work for you? How can we put a plan together so you still feel supported in the things that you need, and I do too? And it's a conversation of communication. And even where I've had women go to their husbands and say, go ask your husband what task around the house that he despises doing. And they're like, why? I said, because you're going to help him remove that from his life. And what task do you despise doing around the house? Right? And so if he despises mowing the lawn or he despises taking out the trash, congratulations. How do you make a plan that he never has to do that again? What type of positive environment are you going to create? I don't want to cook. I did it for many years because I was a mom. I don't want to cook. My husband knows this. So we have a plan to where I might cook a couple times a week. It's communication and putting a plan together because everyone needs to buy into the plan. And when it comes to friends and family members outside, you're going to have to understand that their reaction may not be what you hope it would be. But when they react that way, they're thinking about themselves or not thinking about you.
I love this so much. So what would be your advice? And that's definitely something that I think that it would be very valuable about your talk at the Powerhouse Summit around boundaries, because you guys moved a lot and your husband does travel a lot for work as well. So everybody looks and Julee is all put together and stuff like that. But there have been a lot of challenges that you had to kind of like be by yourself with your kids, probably a lot because of the demands of your husband's career, and then also running your business and being there for your children. What did you find that were the hardest challenges that you experienced whenever you started to set boundaries because you realized that you were very close to reaching a burnout? What were the challenges that you experienced, the pushbacks?
Yeah. When I did ask for help, or I did like hit that point where I felt I needed help and I would reach out for help for someone, and the feedback would be that I was complaining or that I was ungrateful or that, something bad had happened, and this is friends and close family. Oh, how rough, Julee. You have this huge house and this amazing husband and all this. Oh, and you're having a tough time. And that hurt because it was really hard for me to reach out for help, to try to talk with someone, and then getting that feedback that I was just complaining. And then you take it all back in and you just let it sit and stir inside yourself. And it can be very lonely. I would say that. Yes, I've moved 26 times. I've lived literally coast to coast across the United States. My husband travels 3/4 of the time. So most of the time I am single mom. But that's a plan my husband and I put together. And so communication with him of how do we support this? Yes, his work comes first. That's not making me any less, but he's out there killing it so that I can be here and be present with our girls. And just communication. I've just learned to communicate with him. And just when I hit that wall, go to him and say, you know what?
I'm struggling.
I'm having a tough time. And he's learned to just listen and literally not try to fix it right away, but just say, how can I help you? And communication with my husband is everything, because that is like, we want to be great parents, then he and I need to be great. When I feel like we're too distant, blocking that time, he and I need to go have time together. And one thing I found with some of the women I coach is we get so focused on ourselves. There's 2 adults in the household. If you're married, there's 2 of you. His needs are just as important. And guess what? A lot of men won't vocalize that. They put their head down, they go to work, they go and do what they need to do. But sitting down and have the conversation of saying, what do they need? What makes them happy? And when you give, this is one of the secrets too. When you give that gift to your husband and say, how can I support you? What do you need? Where are you struggling? Because a lot of times they won't just tell you. It creates this wonderful communication to where then you can go to them and say, this is what I need. And this wonderful support back and forth to where now we have a habit when we see each other in the morning or we talk in the morning, I'll just be like, what do you need today? How can I support you today? And it's but it takes a while to get there. And I would just say communication.
Yeah. And that's something that I see a lot on the fitness aspect, is that I do a lot of calls where the husbands are present. It's incredible to watch how eye-opening it is for the men to watch their wives, because I ask questions that require a lot of thinking. It's not just a very black and white answer, because it isn't just about the weight. There is a lot that comes from not feeling your best that impacts different areas of life, career, marriage, how you show up for your kids, all of it. And as the woman starts to peel the layers and talk about how it's impacting their quality of life, their ability to show up, how unhappy they are, and all of that, you can almost see the shift on even how the husbands start kind of like this. If you're not watching, leaning back, kind of don't give a shit. And as their wives start to speak, you can see them turning away, and it's almost like, oh my God, you've been struggling with this by yourself. And I think that a lot of it is due to that lack of clarity, because women say one thing and they assume that just by that droplet of information, the husbands are going to put you into together and be like, oh, that's what she needs. But there's no clarity. And it's very, very powerful whenever you have that clarity in communication.
Yeah. And I'll say this again, going back to fitness. I teach women how to grow and scale their businesses. I've taken women from $0 into the millions. This is something that I do very well. But I'm telling you now, it starts with taking care of yourself. I can teach you skills and selling and marketing. It is taking care of yourself, prioritizing yourself. And so that's why when I get on a call and they're like, okay, teach me about sales. I'm like, how many times did you move your body this week? And like, they're confused. I'm like, no, this is part of what we coach on. And it's part of your homework. You will move your body. What are you eating? Turn your phone off at night. You're not taking your phone to bed. I work on their personal because it truly affects everything else. I've started with women who had crappy marriages and they come to me because they want to grow their business.
Yep.
90% of what we actually work on, and I help them with their business. For me, that is just, I could do that all day long. 90% of what we coached on was helping her with her relationships, with her health.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of our coaching, she was going to the gym consistently 4 times a week. She was eating healthy meals. She was going on date nights with her husband. She had Sunday afternoons. She prioritized with her family. This is my time.
Yeah.
She'd go give herself face masks, take a bath, breathe. She emailed me like almost in tears. Like when I read her email after we like 6 months of coaching, she was just so grateful. She's like, my relationship, my household is so much better. And then she takes that into her business, right? She's happy, she's growing. But I'm telling you, it starts with your health. It starts with taking care of yourself. And I have to say this, if this is something that the people listening want to implement in their lives, the start of that would be to come to Powerhouse Summit, because this is where we're going to be teaching all of that. I will be there teaching on boundaries, work-life balance, smarter ways to operate your life. Mm-hmm. And then you coming in there, I absolutely am so inspired by what you do. I mean, I was a fitness model for years, but the way that you help women, what you're able to impact and how you're able to impact their lives it's beautiful.
Thank you. And, as you're speaking, I'm getting even like more and more excited, because it's funny whenever I even presented to my team, because we have a variety of speakers in the Powerhouse Summit. We're going to have also Annie Yacht. She's worked with Navy SEALs in behavioral change and leadership coaching as well. And whenever I brought to my team, having you and having any leadership coaches, confidence coach, they were like, what does it have to do with fitness? I'm like, everything. Mm-hmm. Because we are telling a lot of our members how feeling better is going to impact their business, their careers, how they show up, setting boundaries in life, at work, how it's going to make them feel better and have more confidence and this, that, and the other. It's almost like you bring it from the other lens. You're seeing directly in the business how it impacts to have that confidence to take care of their bodies. So it is really seen from both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with the speakers that are going to be there. It really is full circle. It's not just, let's just teach about fitness or let's just teach about nutrition. It's all encompassing because all of it affects one another. And so I'm super excited for it. And I know that the impact we'll have on the people that attend. It's going to be powerful. Like some people there are going to go there and they're going to absorb every word and they are going to massively change their lives. And I'm excited for it.
I agree. It's funny because closer it gets, the more butterflies I'm getting. And the lineup that we have, and I'm like, holy shit, like that is kind of like the dream lineup that I have. Whenever I start putting the event together, I was like, and then we can have this person talking about this, that person talk. And literally everybody that I had in my mind is in the event from like the planning day. So I'm very excited about that. Julie, thank you so much for your time. Can you tell a little bit more on how our listeners can find more about you, can hear about your things, your book coming up? Can you tell them where to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely can look on my website. It's juleegracey.com. I spell my name very special because my mother's Canadian and that's how we do things up there apparently. But it'll be in the show notes here. But really, I would encourage anyone, like, come and meet me. If you sign up for the Powerhouse Summit, I want to meet you in person. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your goals. And let's see how we can make changes in your life. Would love to connect with you and then see where you go from there. And if we could coach together, help you in your business, I absolutely can do that. But really, it starts with you. It starts with your health. It starts with the decision. And one of the best things you can do is come to Powerhouse Summit and meet me in person.
The link for the Powerhouse Summit is going to be down in the show notes as well. And Julie, is there anything that you'd like to add? I think that we kind of like jumped around a little bit on the conversation. Is there anything that you feel like I could have asked that you'd like to share?
We covered a lot. We definitely did. I would just say that for anyone listening and you're waiting to make a change. You're thinking about it. You're going to listen to another podcast. You're going to read another book. None of that matters if you don't start taking the action. And the first step is the hardest. And so reach out to Nathalia, reach out to me. This is what we do. This is our life's mission, is to impact women. So take that action now to start creating the life you want, because you are way too powerful. You have way too much potential to be hiding it. And if you're listening to this and you're not taking action, you're hiding it. So please, we welcome you with open arms. Reach out to us, and we look forward to hopefully hearing from you soon. I
read a quote yesterday that it was, people are drowning in information, but is starving for knowledge. And I think that is so true. Like, I call it mental masturbation, which is like you grab all the books and you listen to all the podcasts, which I love. I think it's a great resource, but there is the implementation part that I think is very important as well, and to take action, because people are just always waiting on the corners and life just passes.
Yeah. They say knowledge is powerful, and I disagree. Knowledge is not powerful. It's what you do with that knowledge.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, very true. Last question. What was your favorite place that you've lived?
My favorite place I have lived is right here in beautiful Dallas, Texas. And the reason being...
Are you buttering it up because that's where you are now?
I'm buttering it up. And no, I'm serious. I've lived in Miami. I've lived overseas. I've lived in Milan and Greece and all these, California, Los Angeles. They all have amazing things. But in my life, Dallas is my favorite. My children are happy here. My husband is happy here. I am happy here. We have an amazing community. Really good restaurants, because y'all know I don't like to cook. So it's I can go out to eat at an amazing restaurant every night. Quality of life, the people. So I do love it here. Does it get a little hot? Yes, it does. But I love it. God bless Texas.
I love it. Same. I'm really happy here. The community, the support. It's awesome. All right, Julee, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you and having you as a speaker at the Powerhouse Summit, and excited to connect. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in this week. But let me ask you, what was your aha moment in today's episode? I would love to know. You can leave me a comment or voice message at the link in the show description. You can also follow me on Instagram and let me know what topics you want to hear more about, or who I should have on the show. As for today, this is it for today, guys. I'll see you back next week for another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast.